Takes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Major back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz as the red-hot Cincinnati basketball team keeps making a case for the NCAA Tournament. How about it, folks? I'm your host, Russ Eltman of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, joined very shortly by Neil Meyer from the frontofficenews.com. We predicted a BYU triumph for the Bearcats, and they got it done to officially get back onto the NCAA tournament bubble in blowout style. The more games they can win by blowout, the better their case will get, as they are firmly right in the mix, basically with a 30+% chance to make the tournament in almost every gauge you look at. We'll discuss that win, where they stand on the bubble in this episode of Bearcat Blitz. Plus, we'll preview the final regular season game of the 2025-26 season for Cincinnati, a huge quad one road matchup against TCU, trying to continue their hot streak. They have won 6 of their past 7 games, and 4 of those in blowout fashion. At that, it's just been a stellar run. Well, actually 5 of those 6 wins in blowout fashion, and the 69-65 win over Utah mixed in there as well. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the NBA action going on throughout the rest of this month of March and into April. The regular season has about 40 days left, and I've been using the tanking teams as parlay anchors in my wagering over the past few weeks. Maybe that's something you want to get behind. These bottom 10 teams in the NBA have now lost a combined 44 consecutive games. Minus 800, minus 600, minus 500. Just throw those money line favorites against these tanking teams into a parlay, and you may or may not have some luck with that strategy. The NBA action continues on Thursday with some more contests, including games between Dallas and Orlando, the Mavericks tanking, Utah and Washington. 2 tanking teams facing each other there. I don't know if I would try to pick a side in that one. The Brooklyn Nets tanking against the Miami Heat, who are minus 850 money line favorites. So it just goes to show what the gauge looks like for teams that are just playing out the string, trying to get a great draft pick and trying to draft some of these players that UC may end up facing down the line in the Big 12 tournament, and potentially, fingers crossed, in the NCAA tournament. See if they can pull off one of the craziest rises from the depths of despair in college basketball history. Discuss the BYU win after these messages on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Bringing in Neil Meyer of the Front Office News onto the show now. As Neil, you predicted a much bigger win than I did over BYU, but we were both right. The Bearcats get the job done, and they might just do it, Neil. I'm on the train now. I'm back. We're back. This is exactly how I expected this top 20 talented team to look throughout much of the season. Neil, they fought through the injury issues. They fought through the eligibility issues. They fought through the absence of Jizzle James to set themselves up with a chance to pull this season from the brinks of Wes Miller potentially getting fired a few weeks ago to an NCAA tournament berth, potentially coming down the pipe next Sunday. We talked about the 6 to 7 man rotation that Wes Miller has found, Neil. He stuck with it again against BYU, and it led to another 20-point victory with a 9 starting next to the Bearcat score.
Yeah, Russ. And I mean, first of all, before we talk about the game, what about the crowd on Tuesday night? 12,212 people packed out Fifth Third Arena for the first sellout of the 2025-2026 season. And man, was that crowd electric. And it was really cool, Russ, to see those guys show up for this senior class, but most importantly, Day Thomas. How about that ovation he got on senior night? What were your thoughts on that?
It was just so cool. So cool to see Day get the flowers that guys with his type of commitment deserve to get. And
And
wish we
Wes
got
was
some more
fighting
time
back
with Jalen
tears too.
Celestine and Baba Miller, Neil. Jalen Celestine, he has played lights out basketball, been the most underrated part of this turnaround for the Bearcats, and unfortunately got probably half of a very productive season taken away due to that offseason back injury he was fighting through to begin the year. And then Baba Miller, man, I mean, only one season in a Bearcat uniform, unfortunately, but he is the best all-around player I've seen play for this program since I started covering them in 2021.
Yeah, and when you look down to at what this senior class brings, obviously Jalen Celestine has been a crucial part in the reason that
Shooting
Cincinnati
what,
is in this.
42% from deep in Big 12 play, Neil? That's the guy we saw at Baylor last year in
And
full
then
force.
on top of it, Baba Miller with his 12th double-double of the season. Jizzle James, Day Thomas, each in double figures. But Mustafa Chamras, 24 points, 15 rebounds. I mean, this development over the recent weeks has been electric. But back to Jalen Celestine in this one, he didn't have the best offensive night. I mean, he did have 18 points, but on top of it, the biggest takeaway from this game was what a job did Jalen Celestine do
Well, I mean, Neil,
Tuesday
he
night?
shot 7 of 9 from the floor. I don't think you can ask him to be much more efficient than
Yeah,
that. 4 of 6 from deep. That's pretty good.
yeah. And then when you look down, you see the 18 points, 7 to 9. But the bigger thing that's not being talked about is, man, his 6'7", 6'8" frame on AJ DeBansta was the difference maker in this one because we were wondering what that matchup would be. Would that be the Baba Miller assignment? We thought maybe there'd be some times where you would see Miller on AJ DeBansta, but no, Jalen Celestine said, Baba, you take a back seat to this one. This is my matchup. I'm going to challenge myself. And when you hold an NBA lottery pick to 7 of 21 from the field, yes, he had 23 points, but that's AJ DeBansta. He's going to get his points. Everybody knows he's the best player in college basketball right now. But
That's not true.
his,
Cameron Boozer's the best player in college basketball, but he's in the top 5 for sure.
yeah. And when you look down on top of it, Celestine's defensive performance was a huge factor in this game. And I mean, really, Russ, when you look down at this game, I don't think anybody had a 22-point blowout in favor of Cincinnati, but that's just the way
I don't know.
BYU's season is
You surprised
going
me. I
right
think
now.
you predicted them to win by 11. I was like, that seems pretty steep. I
I
had them
thought
by
11 was
3.
pretty steep,
They
but then,
controlled the entire game, Neil, basically from start to finish. I mean, what BYU had an early lead, but
I think it was like 5-4 lead, and then
yeah, but
Cincinnati
other
went
than
on the
that,
12-2 run and then back and just seemed when anytime BYU tried to have momentum, Cincinnati was like, nope, let's get a couple stops. Let's put this thing away. And that's something that Cincinnati wasn't able to do in the beginning of the season. But now, Russ, when you look back, Cincinnati's sitting in this position where they are firmly in the bubble conversation. And they're not in the bubble. They are on the outside of the bubble looking in. They're trying to creep into this thing. And man, what a turnaround. 6-1 in the last 7 games. They're not just beating teams, Russ. Let's be honest. This is a bona
right?
fide
5
Big
of those
12
6
club.
wins are by double digits, 15
Mhm.
plus points for 5 of those 6 wins.
And Wes Miller even said it himself. They sat down this offseason for weeks on end to put these pieces together in what he called a bona fide Big 12 roster. And now that everybody is starting to get healthy and the rotations, their roles are carved out, this team is looking like, Russ, if they get a 6 seed somehow in the Big 12 tournament, if I'm any of these other teams in the Big 12, I wouldn't want to play Cincinnati right now. I would
No,
try to find my best way to avoid them with how they're playing in this situation.
it's just so exciting. So much more fun to cover these teams when they're playing well and they're not getting the failure unexplained by numbers and the luck stats going against them, Neil. That's what was crushed. I mean, the Eagle staff 3 the untimely issues in crunch time that just seemed to crush them. The loss against UCF on the road, the loss at Xavier, just these brutal, brutal moments. The home loss against Eastern Michigan without your three best players on the team currently right now. It's just every little moment that could have gone wrong for a team as talented as this and as high of expectations of this went wrong until Wes Miller went into that tunnel, made a direct apology to the fans. And Neil, they've lost one game since then. They've rallied around everything. Day Thomas talked with WLWT's Caleb Noe a couple weeks ago about how they had a players only meeting after the Arizona State loss, where these guys, a veteran laden team, came together and they had to know, Neil, like they had to know if we don't turn this around, not only is likely our time as Bearcats over, but our coach is going to get fired most likely. So they dug as deep as you could dig, and they fought as much as you could fight for their coach, their guy, and the fruits of Wes Miller's labor, the fruits of his commitment and steadfastness, thinking this team is going to be a good team, which they were not at many times throughout this season, but they have now turned into a very good team, and they have the rotation formula to get the job done. Number 27 now on Bart Torvik. They have been a top 5 team on Bart Torvik in the entire country since the loss to West Virginia, since February 6th, I believe, is where that cutoff starts. Bart Torvik Neal gives them a 47.2% chance to make the tournament as we look at some paths for Cincinnati to get there. That sounds about right. I mean, anywhere it's kind of hovering between 25 and 50% right now. ESPN's on the lower end. They got Cincinnati around 25 to 30%. There's still a ton of teams on this bubble right now. There is not a lot of brackets that have Cincinnati in the mix just yet. They popped up on the first bracket matrix number yesterday, and 3 more have come through with Cincinnati as an 11 seed in their brackets right now. UC is right on the bubble with at-larges, including Indiana, Auburn, San Diego State, Virginia Tech, California, and USC as the teams that could sneak off the bubble and into the NCAA tournament. 4 brackets with Cincinnati, all at 11 seeds in the current look at bracket matrix as we record this episode on March 5th. Neil, massive, like you mentioned, to get that 6th seed in the conference tournament, because then, Neil, right, you would be set up to face most likely a quad 1, at worst quad 2 opponent in game 1 of the Big 12 tournament. And you and I have been talking, is it going to take 19? Is it going to take 20 wins? If you blow out a quad 1 opponent in game 1 of the Big 12 tournament, on top of a win this weekend against TCU on the road, another quad 1 victory, even if they lost the second game in the Big 12 tournament, Neil, to what would then be most likely a very good team as well, I think 19 might be enough to get them in, and 20 wins should make them a lock.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you too, Russ, because when you look down for Cincinnati, you have always heard kind of where this seeding thing would be for us was if Cincinnati could find a way to get out of playing in that first day, there could be legit conversations about them moving into the Big 12. And right now I'm looking at the brackets. They are the projected 8 seed right now, and they would play the winner of if it all ended today, they would play the winner of West Virginia versus Utah.
Which is not ideal. Do not want that to be the first game. You'd rather it be a good team in the first game.
Yeah, but if they jump up to the 6th seed, which is currently TCU, they would play the winner of, it looks like the winner of game 4, which would be the winner of Colorado or Baylor. That's the matchup you want to play. Because right now, Russ, how I've been explaining it to people on the outside is you want that 6th seed so you do not have to play into Arizona. That's the biggest thing. Because if there's a team right now in this Big 12 conference tournament, I simply would not want to play into Arizona. That's just simply who I would not want to play into. So overall, it's going to be interesting, Russ. But man, it's really going to come down to Saturday. If they can go on the road and they can dismantle a TCU team like they did,
get
BYU.
The 6th seed, right, Neil? If they beat TCU,
if they beat TCU and some other things go well, West Virginia suffers another loss. I
Yeah.
believe, in
I
Utah,
think
or not
UCF has
Utah.
to lose. If
Yeah,
UCF
have to
loses
lose,
and they
yeah.
beat TCU, then UC will be the 6th seed. As we kind of looking here on from Matt Hackman on X, he's got the tournament probabilities for the Big 12 seeds. You see 24% chance to get the 6th seed, 18% chance to get the 7th seed, 24% chance to get the 8th seed, and a 33% chance to get the 9th seed. Likely going to be the 9 if they lose. Can't be any lower than 7 if they win, right, Neil? Because then you would jump TCU, and depending on a UCF win, they would be the 6th seed or the 7th seed, with Cincinnati swapping in to that scenario. But yeah, you want to get to 6 because then you're setting up a quad 2 opponent in round 1 or in your first game in round 2 against that winner, Neil, right, of West Virginia and Baylor, and that would be a definitive quad 1 game because both those teams are in the 51 to 76 range you need to be for neutral site games.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different scenarios that could really play out, Russ. But the biggest thing for me is you just can't look forward for Cincinnati. You got to focus on TCU, and it seems like Wes Miller in the last month has done a great job at focusing on what's ahead of you, just one game at a time. But Russ, man, how cool would it be to see them go 8-1, 7-1, 8-1 down the stretch, whatever it might be, and then you head into the Big 12 tournament and you potentially get 2 wins that are both quad 1, and then you sit back and you really have to take a step back and you're like, man, did Cincinnati just do one of the most historic comebacks in all of college basketball? Because Russ, let's be honest,
I know
if
I'd have to
Cincinnati
like, has any team ever been 11 and
I don't,
12 and
and then
come back
found a
to get
way
an
to,
at-large spot in the NCAA tournament? Obviously, I mean, you got Georgetown of a few years ago. You got these teams that win the conference tournament out of nowhere as like 10 or 11 or 12 seeds after a bad
but
year. But
Cincinnati was hung out to dry
oh yeah,
a
we both
month and a
said the
half ago.
season was over. Everyone said the season was over. I mean, I had other people on the beat saying that they were going to finish under 500 on shows that I was hearing. So, I mean,
I mean, if I'm being
everybody
honest on that
justifiably
statement,
left this
Russ,
team for dead.
yeah, and I'm going to be honest on that statement. I'll even call myself out. I was one of those people
Same
who
here. I
said
mean, we both did.
there was no way Cincinnati could be in this position. And then next thing you know, here we are. A month later, we're talking potentially Wes Miller returning for his 6th year, an NCAA tournament bid, a healthy squad. Like who would have thought that a month ago? But man, Russ, whatever was said in that players only meeting, and I'm sure we know who spearheaded it, in Day Thomas. And whatever was said, uh, to be a fly on the wall in that room would have been electric, because whatever was said in that locker room, man, did it hit deep, because Cincinnati has played arguably some of the best ball in all of college basketball. I mean, you look down, you see the Michigans, you see the Dukes, you see the Houstons.
Yeah, it's the
Recent
top
weeks,
4 national title contenders, Neil, and Cincinnati are your 5 best teams since February 6th.
yeah, which is astounding to think about. Astounding to think about. This is where we're sitting at. But man, it's exciting times. I know the other night, I mean, Russ, there was people on their feet the whole game
Yeah.
on Thursday night from start to finish. And while we're talking about the game, I want to give a shout out to Ace DeBansta, AJ DeBansta's father. We met with him pregame. Obviously, for people who listened to me on the other podcast, we had each had a little running bet with him that if BYU won, Ace would have to go do some push-ups at mid-court. If BYU won, Meach would have to go do the push-ups. Ace came over right before the game. Russ, he turned around right when things got ugly, and he looked at us and he said, he gave us that little head nod. He was like, "Yep, I know, I know, I got some push-ups coming." And right after the game, where was Mr. DeBance that was out there doing push-ups on video out there at mid-court? So that was cool to see. Great guy, great family, but overall, man, Russ, it was electric in there, dude. And I don't think we have seen Fifth Third Arena rocking like that in quite some time. Maybe I don't know if you probably ever would have seen it rocking while you're covered your time on the beat, but man, it was. I wasn't expecting students to show out 2.5 hours early before the game, but glad they did. Very glad they did.
If you build a winner, the people of Cincinnati will support it in full force. 30% chances to make the play or not make the playoffs, to make the NCAA tournament for Cincinnati, according to ESPN's Neil Payne. Big issue is they're still outside the top 50 in national resume average. Got to be around number 45 generally to get into the dance, and they're 66th in wins above the bubble. You'd love to get that minus 1.5 wins above the bubble mark as close to zero and positive numbers as you can down the stretch here to make it as difficult as possible on the committee to leave Cincinnati out of the NCAA tournament. Let's get to a quick break, and then we'll preview the TCU matchup to close out the regular season action for Cincinnati Bearcats basketball in 2025-2026. But first, got to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can bet on the college basketball national champion. What are the Bearcats odds right now? Let's just take a look. Let's see just for fun, where Cincinnati is checking into right now. They don't even have odds for Cincinnati on the board as of right now because they're not quite there yet in terms of the bubble madness and getting into the dance. But a local team that you can bet on, Miami of Ohio, if you think they're going to continue the winning ways and win all the way to the national championship, you could bet on them to do it at 500 to 1. Vegas and FanDuel not very optimistic about that happening, with your top two candidates to win the national championship being Michigan at plus 340 on the FanDuel Sportsbook and Duke at plus 340 as well. Arizona at plus 480 and Florida at 8 to 1. They were 20 to 1 a couple weeks ago, and they're just ripping through the SEC lately, trying to go back to back. And I believe UConn went back to back a couple years ago, and Florida was the previous team to do that back in 2007, 2008. So they're trying to take that crown back from UConn in terms of B2B in the national championship circuit. FanDuel Sportsbook, the place to bet on the college basketball national champion. Head there to make your wagers today. More TCU preview action coming your way on Bearcat Blitz after these messages. Dropping into the back half of the show here on Bearcat Blitz. TCU welcoming the Cincinnati Bearcats, one of the hottest teams in the country, to their home confines down at Schollmeyer Arena in Fort Worth, Texas on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Game is airing on TNT, and I'm sure you should watch it on HBO Max for people that don't have cable but have that streaming service. 55.3% matchup predictor favorites are the TCU Horned Frogs, Neil, according to ESPN Analytics. I can't disagree with that anymore. I mean, I don't think these are adjusted correctly enough at all right now. It's a big, big difference from Bart Torvik, who has Cincinnati favored in this game and slightly favored at that 69-68 projected victory for the Bearcats in this contest. And Neil, I'm rolling with UC again here. I will not be stepping in front of this freight train anytime soon. All aboard, choo, 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 especially in a matchup like this where UC is once again being undervalued because of how their overall season-long metrics look. Over the past 10 games, this team is ripping things up in terms of offense. You look at them on Torvik over the last 10 games, they have an offensive rating in the top 40, 39th best offensive rating in the country. They're the 9th best team in the nation over the last 10 games, 97th in effective field goal percentage. They only have a 14.6% turnover rate, and that ranks top 100 as well. They're shooting, Neil, 40.3% from outside, UC is, over the last 10 games. That's the 19th best mark of any team in the country. It's helping buoy a 49.1% two-point percentage mark. That's 279th in the country. But I mean, the outside shooting is just so scorching right now, and I don't see this Horned Frogs team doing a whole lot to slow that down. They're giving up really mediocre numbers defending the three, 34.4% defense from outside in Big 12 play. That's 8th best in the conference. This team, Neil, TCU doesn't really do anything at an elite level except hunt for fouls and get to the free throw line. I mean, against UC, that's a death knell. The Cincinnati Bearcats do not commit many fouls. They're at 15.1 per game. That's 3rd best in the conference. And their opponents are shooting 16.5 free throw attempts per game. That's 2nd fewest in the conference, 2nd best mark among any Big 12 team. Going up against the TCU squad, taking the 2nd most free throw attempts and earning the most personal fouls for their opponents have the most personal fouls per game in the conference at 19.9. Very balanced roster, Neil. They got 4 guys averaging 10 plus points per game. That I think plays into Cincinnati's factors here with just how well spread out this man-to-man defense is across the board. They don't have a ton of size to bring to the table here. Their tallest rotation player is 6'8". Most guys between 6 foot and 6'5". They're an okay rebounding team, but with that size disadvantage against UC, Neil, I just don't see Cincinnati committing enough turnovers and committing enough sloppy fouls in this game to lose to a definitively worse squad, even though it is on the road. Give me the Bearcats to continue their hot shooting, 80-65 win. I think it's going to be pretty comfortable over the TCU Horned Frogs, and it's going to be another stamping resume win that could be enough with that 15-point advantage, a blowout victory here to leave them just 1 win away from an at-large berth.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you too, Russ. When you look down at this team on paper of TCU compared to Cincinnati, this is where Cincinnati stands out, right? The length, the size, Baba Miller, Mustafa Cham, those are going to be your difference makers. I mean, you heard it from AJ DeBansta the other night when we asked him about Baba Miller's skill set. And he said, quote unquote, this is the guy who could average a triple-double with his skill set. Baba Miller, you know he's going to get his. But my player to watch in this game, Russ, and he's going to be the difference maker like he has been in recent games, is Mustafa Cham. I think he's going to set the tone early in this one because looking at these analytics and these metrics over the last few weeks, Russ, I mean, when Mustafa Cham is getting to that mid-range bucket from
52.4%, Neil. Outrageously good shooter from the mid-range. It's a terrible shot, but if it's going in, it's a good shot. If it's going in, it's a good shot.
And for Mustafa, you got it. The way he's playing right now, Russ, that is a shot I'm comfortable with him taking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
With him knocking those down. I mean, one thing with Mustafa Cham that I did not think I would have on my bingo card this season or in general, but most importantly in the BYU matchup, is freaking Mustafa Cham hitting a 3 over AJ DeBansta from the top of the key. And a contested 3. Nobody would have had that on their bingo card. But, man, the way
How about Baba Miller hitting 3s lately? He's like 57% over the past 5 games after he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn door from outside in the first half of the season. A guy who, Neil, was 34% career shooter coming into the year. So he's been able to hit him before, and now he's hitting him.
Yeah, and that's the difference maker too, Russ, because, I mean, you look down, Mustafa Cham's playing with much more confidence. Baba Miller, he saw a couple 3s go down, and the confidence just came oozing out of him. And that's the difference maker in this one. Now, obviously, you know your guard play is going to be tested in this one per se, because you know TCU likes to hunt and likes to get to the foul line, as you mentioned. But the way that Cincinnati has been playing lately, I mean, throw away the foul calls versus BYU the other night because Tony Padilla was freaking awful. Throw that out the picture. But the way Cincinnati has been able to keep teams off the foul line recently, that's going to win you ball games in itself. And the way that Jizzle James and Day Thomas have also been taking care of the basketball, that's huge too.
Third best turnover mark in the conference, only 9.6 per game.
Yeah, and they only had 7 the other night versus BYU. Meanwhile,
it's just been going down precipitously a little bit more and more each week, it feels like.
Yeah, meanwhile, BYU turned the ball over 13 times the other night. That turned into 21 points and points off turnovers. That's the difference maker. So, I mean, Cincinnati's guards, everybody knows they're going to take care of the basketball. But, Russ, for this one, give me Mustafa Cham double-double. I think he's going to go for 18 and 12. Cincinnati beats TCU. Give me 84-66 in favor of the Bearcats on the road to pick up a big quad 1 win. And let's keep this train moving, man. It's hard to go against Cincinnati right now. That train's rolling, Russ, and it has no intentions to stop soon. Let's take this thing all the way.
Maybe we'll be making a trip to Dayton in a week's time, Neil. Maybe 10 days time. We might be having a little first 4 action. Any chance to get the Bearcats in would be a lot of fun. No doubt about that. And to Neil's point, this TCU team, you see, like I mentioned, struggling in the past 10 games from 2-point range, 49.1%. That's 279th nationally. This TCU Horned Frogs team, Neil, giving up 54.4% from 2-point range in conference play. That's 14th out of 16 Big 12 teams. This matchup is just juicy, full-on setup for the Bearcats. And I can almost assure you they're not going to, I mean, Neil, they might be what, 2, 3, max 4-point favorites against TCU. Keep an eye on that betting line, folks, because I don't think, just like the BYU betting line, which was completely egregiously mispriced, the Bearcats being 1.5-point home favorites over a BYU team that they were definitively playing way better than compared to BYU and what they had looked like without Richie Saunders. I think you might get a mismatched or mispriced line in a similar fashion here. So keep an eye out on that from FanDuel Sportsbook when those numbers come out on Friday afternoon. It pays to be early to the betting window in that world. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see if we're talking about a 19th win potentially being on the table for the Bearcats to start the Big 12 tournament when we reconvene next week. Should be a lot of fun. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Eltman. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. The back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call.